Hey everyone, it's episode 150, 150 of Bucks UK TV. 4 years it took us to get. That's not bad going, is it? Guess we still started in COVID. So I'm still with Phil, and Adam, and we're now looking ahead to the thing we normally dread, which is the Bucks getting on a plane and flying a long distance. At least we won't be looking constantly at the temperature gauge because I think LA shouldn't be too chilly. Let's start with you, Adam. What do we know about the Chargers?
They're a solid team, a
Mm,
very good team. They took the Chiefs to the wire.
mm,
Uh, yeah, I think we play like we did last week, and then we'll be in big trouble.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Mr. Jones, I think this is a team in many ways. I think this is kind of like the West Coast Bucks, it feels like. I think they've got a really good strong arm quarterback. They've got some really good players that aren't necessarily super famous.
Are you reading my notes?
Go on then.
That's exactly what I've put down here. I,
Yeah,
I think, I think Herbert's a very underrated quarterback, and like you say, the wide receivers. Although I do rate Palmer, I think he's a good player. They're pretty banged up at running back as well.
yeah,
They've got. I mean, Gus Edwards has started, so they must be banged up.
yeah.
So that, but they're a good team, and they have got some interesting people on defense as well.
Well, let's stick with the offense then. Obviously we know about Justin Herbert and but who's he going to be throwing it to? You've mentioned Joshua Palmer. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Lad McConkey. Most people been in our division long enough will know DJ Chark. They've got some options, hasn't he, Phil?
Yeah, they have. I watched the sort of um sort of the game in 40 from the game last night against the Chiefs, and yeah, I agree that McConkey was actually out for this game, but
Mm. He's on my
the,
fancy
the,
team as well.
yeah, um, but they do
Jinxed
look
everyone.
very dangerous in their passing game. I'm a big fan of Herbert as well, and I
Yeah.
think that mainly goes back to previous time when we played them in his rookie season, and I was so impressed then that that they took us ran us pretty close then. Yeah, they've got the Palmer and McConkey as you mentioned, and there was another guy Johnston
Yes,
who
Quentin
seems
Johnson.
Quentin Jones,
Yeah.
he had a great game last night
Mm.
as well. But yeah, just going back to I had exactly the same thought that that they seemed to be stuttering on offense. They were making some really um, big plays, but then just couldn't seem to maintain that momentum.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's down to the Chiefs or whether that's something that they've been struggling with all season. But I think Herbert could be very dangerous. Yeah.
Could be the Jim Harbaugh effect. So Adam, when the Chargers are on the field, then what do we need to call or do or achieve? How do we stop them?
Got to bring pressure. I mean, we're good at the blitz.
Mm.
I think we're going to have to bring a lot of pressure to shut Herbert down because I think if he gets the time that he can have, they'll make big plays.
Mm.
Mm.
Mm. I think you're right. I think the medium length passing for me, he's so strong armed and so accurate usually. I think, he's got a deep ball as well, but I kind of feel like they don't necessarily call that or play to that too much. What do you think, Phil?
totally agree with what you're saying. The other thing that Herbert does, he doesn't like being got at.
Mm.
He sort of is one of those quarterbacks that, yeah, if you give him time, he'll with that arm, he'll take you to pieces. But once you start getting in his head, he starts making mistakes. A couple of other things as well. They've got two pretty good tight ends, haven't they? Hurst and
Yeah, I
Disley.
don't
So
know much about them.
yeah, they're pretty solid. He's
Mm.
got a lot of weapons to throw
Mm.
to. But my key to the game is get at him. Get
Yeah.
Mm.
at him all the time, blitz, and don't give him chance to throw because
So
that's
make
where
them
he'll kill you.
one-dimensional because we think their running game is probably the more suspect part then.
Well,
No.
they're banged up at the running
Yeah.
game, and so yeah, they're going to make him throw. But so get at him all the time. Get at him.
Okay, so let's switch then to the other side of the ball, Mr. McKenzie. We all know Khalil Mack. We all know Joey Bosa. This is kind of like a pincer defense? Kind of everything's coming from the edge.
Yeah. So what I noticed just watching the highlights earlier was they seem to be getting quite a lot of pressure, with rushing just four a lot of the time. They do throw in the odd blitz with like Derwin James coming off the edge, and he got a sack last night, I think. But yeah, they do get pressure up front, and we mentioned in the last podcast about our O-line, stepping up this season. I think they're going to have their work cut out next week.
Yeah. Adam, do you think that we got a chance against this D? How are you? We'll be able to move the ball, and if so, how?
Yeah, I think we will. I think I'll say it again. We're not the 8th best rushing team in the NFL for nothing. I think the O-line have a big game. I think we can definitely make plays on the ground. Definitely.
And are we going to be running inside, outside, throwing outside?
Screens, I'd have thought. Yeah,
More screen.
run inside, I'd thought.
Well, I mean, traditional wisdom to me is if they're rushing off the edge, normally you would say throw to where the blitz is. But I think last week demonstrated let's not throw anywhere near players that are coming free or loose or pressuring, because for whatever reason it wasn't working.
Yeah,
so I kind of think go away.
Stay away from those rushes.
Yeah,
up the gut.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if it's Tucker up the gut.
Just for your fantasy team.
Yeah. No, he won't be starting next week. It's fine. I should have everyone on a bye week.
I think the thing you were also playing a wily old coach in Jim Harbaugh. I rate him very highly. He was good at in college, and he was good. He's going to be into the Super Bowl, and
he used to play for the Chargers. I was thinking that the other day.
Yes, he did actually. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember that as well. What do you mean? Yeah.
Me too. No, I agree. That was kind of what I was thinking back to when I first became an NFL fan. I think that was then.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to do anything in this game, and I just, as I said earlier on, this is our toughest game. I think of the 4 games we've got left. I think we've got to be patient, like you say. No these great big long bombs. Just short throws. Just pick them off. Runs. Little things like that, because they have got some serious weapons on this defense. They really have. I mean, I know Camille Mack's getting on, and so is Joey Bosa, really, but they're still very effective, as we saw with Levante David. It's still very, very effective players, and Derwin James is always a handful, isn't he?
Yeah, and like I say, and you've mentioned him as well, Phil, and I think obviously Asante Samuel Jr. is well known around the league. It's not a bad secondary. Again, I watched the highlight of the Chiefs game. And obviously the Chiefs blueprint. They did manage to get people in space, and it wasn't as usual. It wasn't necessarily the usual like tight end stuff that the Chiefs won. Because my gut reaction was to say, okay, well if they've got good edge rushers, let's try and throw over the middle. That would be prime tight end territory, especially after the game that Otten had. But I don't know. It just feels like that for whatever reason the Chiefs either weren't attacking that or weren't successful there. So I mean, I don't know. I also think the Chiefs are the luckiest, 12-1 team in NFL history.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah, but a lot to talk about that, hasn't there? Yeah.
We're all just jealous. You'd much rather win lucky than lose unlucky.
Well, we'll say that we've just won 3 games. We're back on the. The Falcons were blown away last night, and it's so we're back to where we wanted to be. Let's be quite honest. 3 games ago, we thought we'd all blown it. That's it. We're blown it now. But we've won 3 games. We're back on top. It's all in our own hands now. All in our own hands.
So, Mr. McKenzie, I don't want to jinx it, but looking ahead, obviously no games are given, and if we lose, we could be back up. But we're now ahead from the Falcons. So, it's to some extent in brackets. Who cares about the wild card? I may regret saying that, but as long as we can keep ahead of them. But you mentioned the Chargers as being possibly the big game. I think the Cowboys is a big one. The Saints in the last week of the season. I was there New Year's Eve, I think it was, a few years ago with Winston's winner to Godwin with like 3 seconds left. I couldn't speak by the end of that game, But we always seem to play the Saints somewhere near that last game of the season, and the Panthers may well be paying for jobs, starting rosters, coaching jobs. So I mean, there's no easy game in the NFL.
No, that's right. I think I agree that this week is probably the toughest of the four, but yeah, I don't think there's any gimmies there. Division games, particularly Saints, are always tough games, and as you say, Panthers getting better, as we know from last week. So yeah, it's going to be a tough run in, but I think looking at what the Falcons have got, I think they've got a tough game. I can't remember coming
I've
up
got
as well.
no idea. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they've got a tough road game coming. But yeah, it's in our hands, as Phil said, and it feels like we haven't played well the last couple of weeks, but we've still been getting the wins, which is the most important thing. And I think as long as we can keep grinding out those wins, then that's it. Because I don't think there's a wild card team coming from our division this year. So I think we've got to stay ahead of the Falcons.
If the NFL had a rule, there might not be a division champion coming from our division. Adam, so kind of, do you feel like, do we have to win out now, or is there a chance? Could we slip up one game or maybe two? I don't know. What's the magic number to get us to the playoffs?
I think
there was a race to 10.
Four. Well, what would that be? 7 straight wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we want. I think we can afford one. No more than that, I don't think. But I think 4 is obviously it's doable, I believe. But they've got to be on their A game next week, and then the momentum you'd like to think will carry us through with those 3 remaining games after this one.
Okay, so it's money where your mouth is time, Mr. Jones. It's score predictions. We're not going to predict the rest of the season, but I think we will have a stab at what's going to happen with the Chargers.
I hate to say this, but I got a feeling we're going to trip up, to be quite honest. I think we're going to go down 24-21.
Okay, for what it's worth, I actually agree with you, and that's why I was asking you. I think this is the one game we might have to drop. I mean, it's going to make the rest of the NFL sit up, because I reckon if the Falcons do win, everyone's going to be sweating big time, because obviously we need them. If we have the same record as the Falcons, it's no go, no show. But yeah, I kind of thought something like 28-27 or something really, really tight like that.
Yeah.
Phil, save us.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a tough one. Heads says, yeah, it might be a close loss, but I can't predict a Bucs loss. So I'm going to flip it around and say Bucs win 24-21. That's
nice. The yin to the yang. That's good.
24-17 for me, I'd say.
Bucs. To the Bucs.
Yeah.
Nice. That's where we end on a high. Yeah. Good. So I'll just be me and Phil getting the poison pen letters then. That's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. You've been Adam, Phil, and Phil. I'm Kieron. We will see you next week, where hopefully 2 of us were right, but we just have to find out which 2. Until then, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.